Hola a todos, I'm Gabriela Watson-Burkett, and this is one more episode of Diálogos. We have a guest co-host today, Frances Almodovar. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Frances Almodovar, and I am super excited to be a part of this conversation about Afrolatinidad.
Sounds good. Let's talk about what's on our radar. This week, we're highlighting police brutality in a global scale. Unfortunately, on my hometown, Frances, in Brazil, in Rio, last month in October, we saw a police raid that left more than 100 people murdered in the favelas in Rio de Janeiro. It was supposed to be to get people from Comando Vermelho, which is a criminal group. But this is not the way to go about it. A lot of innocent people were killed, and more than that, they were left in the middle of the woods. Despite this being in October of 2025, and we always publish Diálogos a little bit later, it's important that we bring this to the attention because that was the deadliest raid that we had in Brazilian history, and it is an attack on Black and brown communities and poor communities.
That's very sad, and I think it's important to bring that up into this conversation because it's not okay, and it shouldn't have happened, and it shouldn't happen.
Now, Frances, you have some news about Greyhound, correct?
Yeah. So when I was in college, I took Greyhound to go back and forth from Baltimore to Philly to see family, and just when I wanted to be home. And when I took Greyhound, it was at Filbert and 10th Street. So right off of Chinatown, really close to SEPTA. Had a bunch of options on how I can get home. And recently, I found out that they weren't in that station anymore. I had to take a Greyhound bus, and I was just left in a random bus stop, or I had to go to a random bus stop to get on my bus. So that was disheartening. But recently, I learned that the PPA has kind of stepped up to pay for the location, that building that is just vacant right now on 10th and Filbert. And so people who depend on these inner city buses now have a location to go to where they can wait for their bus. They can sit down because currently in these different bus stop locations, there is no seating, there's no shelter from the climate. It's very disruptive to SEPTA bus routes because they're in designated SEPTA lanes. And it's overall just an unpleasant experience for people. So I'm really excited about just the thought of that station being used again for its purpose.
Yeah, this is great news. I think the Philly community know what it is, and I'm glad that you're sharing that they put the location back.
Yeah, long overdue. It's almost 3 years without that.
Coming up, let's discuss art and revolution, but from an Afro-Latine perspective.
I think it'd be cool to kind of go around and maybe introduce ourselves, share what part of the city you're from, or you reside in, and then what cultural or heritage you're bringing in, and then a sentence of what is something that you would like people to leave with when you leave a space.
I'm Odin Palacio, known as Udini La Voz in the music world. I live in West Philadelphia, originally from Panama.
My name is Ant Rivera. For friends, family, collaborators, I go by Ant. I like to say I'm a North Philly boy to the day I die. North Philly raised me. I'm from Kensington. I reside in North Philly. I think for me, I hope that I could leave this aspect of belief in a sense, or hope. Being able to create work and being a storyteller, I hope that people could look at my work as something that they see themselves in and be able to, I could do that. I see myself in this new light. So being able to let us know that we exist and we are seen and we are not erased because there's truth tellers out here. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
what I want to leave behind to the people that that I have interacted and sit around and share history and information with is the authenticity. I really want to share authenticity. I want these people to feel like, what, it's okay to be authentic. It's okay to be myself, and that's what I want to leave behind. Because being from Panama in a foreign land is, I feel proud to be Panamanian. I don't have to be American to fit in. So yeah, I want to leave that behind.
That's real.
Yes, how do you bring the Afro-Latinidad for your life and for your work?
I think it's just understanding where we come from. I think it's our responsibility to ask our parents, our grandparents, hey, where we come from, who was your father, where he came from, because I don't think we have been. I mean, it's not gonna be given to us at school, so we have to do our part in getting to that information, and that's by just digging in, and that's what I did. That's how I'm capable of knowing that, hey, part of my family came from Jamaica. Because my grandmother last name is Knight, and based on when I went back to Panama in 2018 with a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of curiosity, I was able to interact with some people that's studying that, and they sharing that type of information in Panama, which I'm happy for. And they was able to tell me that information, that the Knights are originated from Jamaica. So I ran back to Grandma, like, Grandma, you are from Jamaica. You know what I mean? And she's like, oh, and she didn't even know that. That's the beauty part of it. The just exploring and finding out and sharing that information.
I feel that. I loved a bit about the grandmother story. I could relate to that. I'm a proud black Puerto Rican, and I say that, all the time. I'm a proud black body, and my parents are, my dad is fully Puerto Rican, from San Linas. My mom is fully Puerto Rican from Maya West. I'm third generation, so I grew up speaking Spanglish. My Spanish is not the best, so when you talk about identity, I think that's a whole nother conversation about being able to fit in terms of boxes, right? But for me, I think it's definitely honoring the ancestors, right? And I think when I talk about being a black Puerto Rican more specifically, I think like understanding in America there's a binary of black and white politics. So you have to equate your ethnicity to race in a lot of ways, right? So when I'm moving through space and time, it's really important to distinguish that, because of my skin color, because of the way that I look and the way that I'm, where I'm from in Kensington, I just get boxed off in certain things on my zip code. And people may think, oh, this, Kensington, this is zombie land, or it's horrible, or it's, badlands or whatever, right? But I've grown to accept that reality of, where I come from and find a lot of beauty in the struggle, a lot of beauty in, my neighborhood, my hood. And being able to shine light on what Latinidad is, right? And as I grow and as I went to school, I got my BFA from Tisch, so that was a whole nother awakening of like being in a whole nother space of being the only one, tatted. I'm a black Puerto Rican, trying to tell stories of North Philly, and people looking at me like, yo, who this kid? Who this guy? Yeah. But I look at to answer the question directly, sorry if I'm going on a tangent, but, part of my work is to always shine light for the next generation. I think we are all storytellers at this table, and we create things that are like historical documents for the next generation to take in and interpret. So if I could give grounding to the work of Arturo, then I'm highlighting something that his inspirations were, like his dreams were for somebody like me to come into space and being able to articulate my story. So then the next generation of young people could look at the work that we do and be like, oh, I could move through space and time a little bit lighter, right? And this identity exists, this duality of being black and something else exists. And there's people out there that's actually moving through the world like that, comfortable in their skin.
Was it uncomfortable to be black and Latino at one point in your lives? Let's keep it real.
Not at all. I think I found joy on that once I found out, because I'm like, wow, I can express my blackness through Spanish, so I can share that through a whole different language, you know what I mean? And when I found out, it just made me look back to growing up with certain sounds, music and dance and congos and it just he took me through a whole different journey. He was beautiful. Yeah, I didn't feel no type of way at all.
And you said when you found out, sorry to be
Yeah,
asking,
like
what does that mean you found out?
You found out? No, because like coming out of Panama, and you only know that you are Latino. You know what I'm saying? But when now when you move to a different country as the United States, where you see people fighting for their rights and fighting for this and fighting for that, and trying to get that equal treatment, then he make you think, hey, I'm part of this. It made me realize that, hey, I'm part of this group. So that was the realization at that point.
Got it.
That's real. I was the kid in my family where I was the only brown skinned one in my family. My sisters are white passing. And I feel like that's also the beauty of being Puerto Rican. Like we look and we look a whole different complexion. My nieces are white passing, but I had a little color to me. I had a little spice to me, as I like to say. So I grew up the negrito of the family. So I was always trying to defend being Puerto Rican. So I didn't accept my blackness until I was around like 16, 17. So it was kind of the opposite. Like I was trying to prove to people that I was Puerto Rican. And I was like, what is that? Like, what does that look like? And for me, it was speaking Spanish. Like if I could speak Spanish to you fluently, then I get my card, right? Like I'm cool. I could be in the space.
Yes.
But it was always difficult for me because at school, growing up in North Philly, it was always, I look like a poppy, that's what they would call us, the poppy boys, but it was hard connecting just in general with other people just because there was like a hard complex. Like I couldn't really fit in with the Puerto Ricans who were fluent in Spanish because I didn't really speak Spanish. And with the black boys, like I'm a poppy, so it's like I'm trying to find my space, So I just kind of navigated to the people who accepted me. But then, I realized that it's all complex, right? It's all a social construct. And at the end of the day, like for me, 16, 17, realizing my blackness and what white supremacy is and was and what it's doing just gave me the fuel to kind of just continue to push the thread. There's other people that look like me that's actually going through the same thing,
right,
and mirroring my existence that, I'm not the only one. And I think that gave me the comfortability to kind of just go, just kind of move through space a little bit. Like, I know what's up, and I'm comfortable where I'm at,
There is a lot of like normalized anti-blackness in Puerto Rican culture, in society. And it's like kind of covered with a layer of, love yourself, this is, your skin is beautiful. But then in the same breath, it's kind of like, but being black is like not good. Like you don't, you don't really want that. Right. And then so growing up, like my parents were never like that, but they never had those conversations. My parents are both white passing. So it's like, oh, I'm literally the only person who is like darker skin and has my hair texture. So yeah, it wasn't until like college where it was like, oh, you're black, because I went to a predominantly white institution, and it was kind of like, well, we only see things in black and white.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I am black, but I'm also Puerto Rican. So that's when the like conversation started, where I was like going into these groups where there were other women who were like, I am Puerto Rican, or I'm this other ethnicity, and I'm black. And I was like, oh, I have a community. I have people I can like learn from. So yeah, it was like a long journey of like, is this good? Is this bad? Does it have to be good to other people? Can I love myself fully for all that I am.
Yeah, that's great. It's so great to hear that some of the similarities, right, from Francis and who grew up here in the U.S. And Udini, as he was saying, from Panama, he didn't have some of these complexities because he was just Panamanian in Panama.
Right.
We don't even describe ourselves as Afro-Latinos much in Brazil. We describe ourselves as Afro-Brazilians or black, negro, or one of the 100 forms that Afro-descendants decide to call themselves in Brazil. There is a research that showed there is more than 100 ways that communities describe themselves rather than saying they are negro, which is official word for Afro-descendant, right? And negro in Brazil could be pardos, which are mixed, or it could be just negros. And we are, the biggest diaspora, and outside of Africa, the country with the biggest, black population. Still, there is so much problems, right? Like you guys were saying, so much colorism. We hear the same things that you said that you heard. Hay que mejorar la raza, But that was just to share a little bit more of, Afro-Brazilians. And I think we should dive in more into you guys' work. Udini, we were digging into your music and
Same.
and videos. We saw La Situación,
Yeah.
which is a video clip that you produced 5 years. You wrote and produced a video clip 5 years ago.
La Situación was pretty much me trying to connect with what was going on at the moment, not feeling okay about, how us as human was being treated. The drastic changes that happen in our lives. I know, we till this day we don't have all the information about the COVID situation and stuff like that. And there was it was a way for me to show that frustration, and and just inspiring the mass to stick together and just stay rebellious, but in a way where we gonna gain control of our power back.
Black lives matter, hey. Latino lives too.
And you also mentioned about Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor,
Yes.
yes. That, when I looked into that situation, it was so unfair. Just a young lady that probably had a bright future to just be treated certain that way was just cruel, and he hurt me. He hurt me because it could have been me, it could have been anybody else that in that position. So yeah, I had to express my feelings towards that. And what better way to do it, music? Why not?
We were talking about how important it is for people to have encouragement, right? It's okay to be in the situation that you are in, or to have the feelings that you have, because other people also have these feelings.
Yes.
And through that exposure and sharing our lived experiences, we kind of give people a goal to live up to, or to keep moving. It's kind of like we're kind of holding their hand and okay, you can keep going. So
as artists, that's our duty. Our artists, it's our duty to lift the mass when we feel like everybody is down or everybody is held back. Hey, come on, let's go, let's do this. We all in this together.
yeah.
So we as artists, we have been blessed with the opportunity to express ourselves to the mass. Not everybody is capable of expressing themselves. So we in this position, we should feel like, hey, you know what? Let's do this.
No, that's real. You do carry a lot of weight.
Right.
You carry a lot of pressure being the one that's vocal about the issues. What I loved about what you said was you just being a black man, just being vulnerable. Like when Breonna Taylor passed away, the words that you just said right now was, that hurt me. Right. And I think that right there is challenging the normality even of what masculinity is. So I appreciate you just sharing that, man, because that's real. Art comes from a place of pain sometimes, and I think what you saying too really resonates with us in general in terms of being resilient in our oppression, and the best work comes from a place of that dark spot or the void that you're trying to fulfill. So
That's right.
I appreciate you and the work that you're doing, man.
Appreciate it.
As we're talking about music and resilience and passing the baton on, and we can dig into your documentary. So Ant, we'd like to know, why was it important to focus on this instrument? What was the significance of that, and who did you hope to tap into and make connections with?
That's a great question. It's a film. Well, the tambor, I feel, is an ancestral drum. I think when I think about the drum, it's the connection between our people and what we've been through. And I think some of the things that you kind of was talking about that kind of lit something up in me. We come from people that didn't have the means to express themselves, right? We were once property. We were once enslaved, right? And I think about not being able to have the freedom or the agency to just wake up and do what you want to do. So in a lot of ways, we resist it in the small things that we think is, really micro, right? To be able to say or sing a song or dance is a form of resistance. To play the drum is also another form of resistance, especially when it comes to bomba and what bomba is. So the drum, it wasn't a question that I wanted to talk. I think it's more of I want people to know that this is not just a Puerto Rican story. This is a story that people from Panama could listen to and connect with, from Cuba, from parts of the Congo, and understand that we are all one. We are all interconnected because of our oppression. And I loved what you were saying about growing up in Brazil. And I think a lot of times, colonialization does a number on us where we, even as Black people and Latino people, it shows when white people aren't around and we are so indoctrinated into the systems and beliefs that are brought upon us that we go out and we start to believe I have to marry white to be better. I have to, I have that, we start to adopt these tropes that are just all stigma and just not really it. So for me, I think this film, more importantly, kind of calls back to my elders in my life, right? My grandmother, my great-grandmother, I never got to meet her, nor my grandparents. So for me, it's also calling out their names and being able to push the thread forward to say, I see you, you exist, through this tambor. And my great-grandmother danced bomba in Puerto Rico. And when there was revolting in Puerto Rico for political gain, she was on the front lines, and she was just this tiny Black woman, just doing what she did and leading protests. So for me, it's something that could honor the elders, but then again, it's something that could teach the young people. This is where we come from. And I don't want it to be a linear story of this is just, bomba is really specific to the plantations and PR, but the drum is something that we could all connect with, right? And I think the beauty of having a musician here as well and a filmmaker here is the drum also exists in a modern 808, right? And a modern percussion. So you see the beauty of how it's been adapted through time and space. And, we create from that vibration.
With the title, when first seeing it, I was like, well, this is perfect because a lot of my grandpa's a musician. He can't play anymore because his vision isn't great, so he can't do his touring. But man, he loves it, and it's different generations come together. People who speak different languages. Yeah. You don't have to know the same language to communicate. It's about the music, right? It is, and it transcends even with different languages. You're gonna pick it up, right? Because it's a sound, and you do that, and it's building community in a way that we're not kind of taught or explicitly told to build community, right? It's not an introduction or a formal thing. It's just I'm here, I feel safe, I feel seen, I can be loud, and I'm heard. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
There is this quote from Tony Bambara, who was a very important artist. She actually lived here in Philly, so there is a lot of her spirit in the city. And she mentions that the role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible. And it just resonated with me so much.
Yes.
And I wanted to hear what you guys think when you hear these two words, right? Art and revolution. How can we make revolution every day in your life?
By saying no. By saying no. Revolution it stops here with me. Setting boundaries. It's enough now. We're not gonna continue bringing the same cycle again. That's what I hear when that's what I feel when I hear the word revolution. Art is okay. Now I'm gonna give you the vision of how we're gonna move towards the future. How we're gonna do things now. So that's art and revolution for me. Yeah.
So inspiring.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
That's a fact. Man, when I think about revolution, I hate to be that guy, but I definitely think about Haiti. I do. I genuinely believe. When I think about revolution, I think about the Haitian Revolution and what it did and what it stands for the first Black republic to overthrow colonialization. But how does that tie into today? And I think it is what you're saying, to say no, to stand in your power and start the next chapter. I think it's radical self-care. I think it's being able to authentically move through space and time in your own skin and being able to honor yourself first and foremost and being able to pass the baton to the next person. It's dismantling the status quo, It's not living the normality that we feel like we need to abide into today's systems of operations and need to assimilate to certain things because we want to get the job opportunity or the promotion. Well, first and foremost, we are all artists, so we are already doing revolutionary work, right?
Yes.
We are already challenging the status quo. And then when you think about art, art is a ways to express yourself. It is the vision. It is fundamentally building something, crafting something from the mind of the person and being able to deliver it. And I think artists at this time, we have an important job, and that's to continue to create. And once you stop feeling that, if you are in a space of, I guess, I don't know the right word, but if you are in stagnancy, I guess is what I'm looking for. If you are stagnant with your art, that's okay. Be able to absorb what you're feeling now and tie it into something different. But artists needs to create in a time of need. So when I think about art and revolution, I just think about staying true to myself and being able to continuously talk about the things that I need to talk about that nobody want to talk about.
So it's taking my time. It's patience.
Yeah.
It's curiosity. It's community. And those are the words that I associate with art and revolution. And also like that boundary.
Yes.
Patience a lot of times requires just saying no to things
Exactly.
so that you have time for yourself and for others and for family.
Yeah.
that's great. Patience, community. I think that's some of the words that came many times during the conversation, right?
Yes.
And I will just add one more. Resisting. Revolution is resisting,
Yes.
right? Because we go through so much. Just as Latinos, just as immigrants, or in Afro-Latinos specifically. So just by existing, sometimes we are doing a lot.
Yes. That's right.
So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we can't wait to see more about your work.
Yeah.
We'll follow up, definitely.
Please.
Thank you for joining us today. Make sure to check out intimedia.org and watch Diálogos episodes on Spotify and YouTube.
And we'd love to hear from you, so please comment, share, and tag us at News by Inti Media.
Ashe.
See you soon.